Hello and welcome to another Steam Server Helper release video. This is version 2.0 and in this version I have completely redone the entire user interface, and I've also added a different icon here as well that I like a little better. Um, this is the new main page. Now everything has been reorganized into tabs. So the main page tab is now run or update servers, and then the settings tab is now main settings, and all the respective settings for each server are now in their own tab. Run or update servers, when you first load the program now, will have nothing enabled, and you can also see that Counter-Strike Global Offensive is now a supported server. The shortcut launch information is under each run server button, and any errors will display here, and the information received from Steam CMD will be here. The info button will bring up some other info that was on the previous version, and it has a version number here as well. I suggest that you read through the info simply because it has some information about what's required for this program to run, and what ports and everything you need to open for everything to work properly. Main settings is going to be the first step when you first open the program. Basically, I'm just going to run through installing every one of these servers. So the first step is going to be to install Steam CMD. The simplest way is to just use this button, but if you've already installed Steam CMD, you can just enter in the file path right here, just directly to the exe, so it looks something like this. So I'm just going to go through with the automated installation since it's suggested and is also probably the easiest. You select whichever folder you want to put Steam CMD in. I've already created a folder, so I'll use that. And then this message box is just telling you that it's going to install when you click OK, and you'll have to wait a few moments while it downloads any updates that are necessary, and then the program will re-enable everything. So now you just wait. And here you go. So now this has all the information from the first run, and it should say that everything is complete and launching Steam, and so everything should be good here. Now you'll see it's automatically filled in the file path that you used when you installed the program, and you'll see the update install and install is now available for all of the servers. So the servers are the server installation is pretty basic. It's pretty much the same for each server. But I'm going to go through them all since this is a new user interface. Even though a lot of the stuff is pretty similar, I want to have a updated run through of everything. So we'll start with Gary's mod. Simply click the button, and this will add some information here when it's complete. Since I've already installed the server, everything is already up to date, so it didn't take too long for me, but it could take a few hours based on your download speed. So we'll move on to Team Fortress 2. And now we can see that Team Fortress 2 has been installed. You can see that there was actually an update, so it took me a little longer this time, but you can see the downloading progress, and at the bottom it'll say success, fully installed. And Steam CMD will also try and give you an idea of if it's installed or not. So we'll move on to Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Alright, so Counter-Strike Global Offensive has completed, and you'll see that it says that the app update / install was a success. And so I guess we'll move on to Counter-Strike Source now. And while this is updating, oh, well, it's actually just finished. So there was there was no update, so it succeeded and everything's all right. And you can see that all of these buttons have been enabled now, so you can now run the servers. Now, you since no information has been filled in any of these tabs yet, you haven't basically created the server yet. This won't really run immediately. You do have to do some work in these tabs before it will run properly, but I'll go over that in a minute. First, I'd like to draw your attention to this box here. The file path errors that were there before are no longer there. As we can see in main settings, the file path to the dedicated server files are now automatically filled in. And these two buttons here, this hide Steam CMD when updating, that's just the command box. It's basically another window that will normally pop up with how Steam Server Helper handles updating servers, but you can hide that or not hide it if you want. If you want to make sure that everything's still working and that it's still updating, you might uncheck hide Steam CMD when updating to make sure that it's not crashing or something automatically if something's wrong over here. But normally I'd expect this to stay checked. And validate server files, this basically is the same thing as validating files for a game in Steam, but it's just for the server files. So if your server is messed up or something, or maybe you accidentally deleted a few files, then validating server files will reinstall those files. And you probably don't want to leave this checked unless you absolutely need to use it, because it does take a lot longer to update or install a server if you do this. So let's move on to the Garry's Mod tab here. So clicking on these tabs without having the server installed will actually force you back to the main settings page, where it will ask you to fill in a file path. But if it's been installed, then it will let you modify this content. So now all the pages that used to make up, or windows, I guess, that used to make up all of the information and stuff that you could edit for Garry's Mod have now been put into one page, in this tab here. So the explanations are still here, and I'll just run through each of the sections again. Basic information is, as stated, basic information such as server name, password, number of players, and server port and default start map. And some of these things are required, and they have little asterisks by them when they're required for the server to run properly. The server.cfg editor, this is the editor for any information that the server has, or any settings that the server has that can be modified but aren't basic. So they're generally server specific settings. We have the mount extra content. This is where extra content is mounted onto Garry's Mod. So some games allow you, well, some games content is allowed to be added to Garry's Mod servers so that you can use the props and everything in your Garry's Mod dedicated server. If you wanted to mount a specific game's content, you would write the game's name here and the path to the game's folder. So it would be something like this for TF2. But TF2 and Counter-Strike source content is already mounted, so you don't have to worry about that. If you've installed the servers, it will automatically add that content for you. Admin setup is a pretty basic admin system that Garry's Mod implements. This is not a mod version of admins. This is the basic version that Garry's Mod dedicated servers automatically have. And basically you throw the admin Steam name in here and their Steam ID here, and it will automatically set them as a super admin on the server. Now, when you first open this page, you may not know what goes in all these places. I suggest that you click defaults, which will automatically fill in the server.cfg, which is required. There are some things in here that need to be added. It will also throw in a default start map and the server port, and that leaves you to put in the server name, password, number of players, and then you can go and click apply, and you can run the server. Clear all will clear all the information, but if you have cleared everything or you've modified something that you didn't mean to, you can click cancel and it will replace everything. It will replace everything to the last apply. So if you have a server name and you click apply, if you click cancel now, the server name will not go away. But if you accidentally deleted part of it and you click cancel, it will be replaced. It's a pretty simple system, and this is implemented. This defaults clear all, cancel, and apply is implemented on every one of these tabs. So we'll move on to Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2 has some specific settings that are all on this side. The server.cfg and basic information will stay the same for every server over here, and defaults will fill in that information for you. These settings are more advanced settings that normally you wouldn't be using, such as specifying your own map cycle and selecting quick plays. Basically, how this functions is if you have set up your own map cycle file that you want to use, you can simply enter the name along with the file extension. And if Steam CMD finds that file, it will allow you to check use this file, and it will disable the map rotation selection and quick play selection. And it will simply use whatever maps are in your custom map cycle file. Selecting a quick play causes the server to use the quick play map cycle for the specified game mode. And these map cycle files are set up by Valve and involve normally all of the payload, arena, or capture point maps. By selecting one of these quick play options, your server will not allow you to select your own rotation and will instead use the quick play option that you have selected up here. If you don't want to use that, you can simply click use map rotation below and select your own maps. You can also delete maps by clicking this button. If you by chance have your own map that you have created or that you have installed on your server, simply write the name of the map, then click add to rotation. You do not need to add the BSP at the end, a .bsp. Steam Server Helper will do that for you. If you no longer wish to use this map, simply click this button and it will go away. And it can be added again using this as many times as you'd like. When you've finished editing everything that you want to and you've added in all the required information, simply click apply, go back to run or update servers, and run the server. And I'm going to move on to Counter-Strike Source. Counter-Strike Source is one of the more basic servers. It still has the default settings, but it does not fill in a default start map, so you'll have to do that yourself. When selecting what maps you want to do in your rotation, it's the same as in Team Fortress 2. You simply click the left arrows to add a map and the right arrows to delete it. Counter-Strike Global Offensive is new in this version of Steam Server Helper. Um, it also has a defaults button that fills in the server CFG and the default start map and server port. It also has the selection for game mode, which includes demolition, arms race, classic competitive, and classic casual. The maps will change based on which game mode you have selected. Selecting a map rotation is relatively simple. Simply select the game mode you want, then select which maps and in which order, then click apply. The maps in the rotation will change based on which game mode you have selected. So if you were to select Classic Competitive, the maps that you previously selected will no longer be in the rotation. But if you go back to the previous game mode or any other game mode where you have selected maps and clicked apply, the maps will be stored and can still be used. Now you have to remember that if you don't click apply after you've selected a few maps, they will be deleted when you move to a different mode. So make sure that you click apply if you want the maps to save. Like Team Fortress 2, there's the ability to add a custom map to the rotation. Simply write the name and click add map. Like the other maps, this map will save to the specific mode after clicking apply and can be deleted or added however many times you want. After clicking apply, just like all the other servers, simply go to run or update servers and click the respective button. I'm going to fill in some information for each of these servers and show you that the servers do run correctly. So now I have added some of the required information to run the servers. So the servers are now able to run by clicking the buttons. And as you can see, so now that I've filled in the required information for each server, you can see that the launch arguments have been updated to reflect everything that's been entered. So you can see here that I've added in only the required information. I've thrown in a couple maps to the map rotations. And for Team Fortress 2, I've selected a quick play so I can show you how that works, since it's a little different than just using the normal map rotation system. And so now I'll start running the servers with a Gary's Mod server. And as you can see, the server has run correctly and is now initialized and online. I'll do Team Fortress last because of its special nature. So now Counter-Strike Source has been initialized properly and is now online. And now we'll start Global Offensive. One thing to note about Counter-Strike Global Offensive is that no matter what players you have entered in the server files or in the server setup tab, max players will always show to be set to 64 in the server startup, as you can see. But when the server is finished starting up and can be connected to from the game, it will show the proper amount of players and will only allow the proper amount of players to join. And so you can see Counter-Strike Global Offensive has started up and is now working. Since Team Fortress 2 had a quick play map cycle selected, there's an additional command that you have to enter for the server to run properly. And it looks like Steam's libraries are having some issues right now, but for the purposes of this video, that is okay. So the command that you have to enter for the map cycle to update correctly so that it moves off of the default start map that you specify at the beginning is simply change level, then underscore next. And when you press enter, it will say using map cycle file, map cycle underscore quick play underscore arena.txt, or whichever quick play you have selected. And you can see that the next map is arena underscore lumberyard. So now the server is running on the correct quick play cycle. But if you do not enter this, you have to finish the default map that you start with, then it will move on to the correct map cycle. So now I'm going to move on to some of the other settings in main settings, which I kind of glossed over before. Um, the additional command line options, that is simply an addition for the launch options that are displayed here, these launch arguments. You can add more arguments if you wish. You simply add a dash, then whatever the um, command is. Then when you click apply, the new command will be added. So this can be done with each server. Um, this can break the server if you enter something incorrectly. It may not work. So unless you absolutely need to use this or you know what you're doing, then I suggest that you do not enter anything in these boxes. So this here shows what Steam Server Helper thinks is installed. These servers are not necessarily installed on your computer, but Steam Server Helper uses it to determine if these buttons should be activated and also which file paths should be filled in. When you click clear all and press apply, these are deleted. If you click cancel, everything that you've added in before the last apply will be re-entered. So because Steam Server Helper keeps track of which servers are installed, it allows Steam Server Helper to fill in these file paths automatically should you accidentally delete them. So if you were to modify the file path, for example, delete this part and click apply, Steam Server Helper will leave this file path. But should it see that a file path that was empty, or a file path is empty, and the server was installed at one point using SteamCMD, SteamCMD will automatically fill in that file path when you click apply. So that's about it for Steam Server Helper. If you have any questions or you find any issues or bugs with the program, which I'm sure there are some given that I can't test everything or every situation, and it is a completely new user interface, I would appreciate it if you would either go to steamserverhelper.com, which is the website, or send me an email or leave a comment on this video about whatever issue or bug that you have found. And thank you for watching, and all the downloads are below, and there's also a link on steamserverhelper.com. Thank you.